How's it going, everybody? My name is Jason. I'll be your host on this CFL talk show, Hussey's Huddle. In this video, we're going to talk about the curious career of Canadian linebacker Cory Greenwood, as he just re-signed a contract with the Calgary Stampeders. But really quickly before we get started, if you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is just by hitting that like button and subscribing to Hussey's Huddle for more CFL content just like this. Thanks again for all the support lately, and without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about Cory Greenwood because I think he has a very interesting career, but also a tumultuous one that has faced a lot of adversity, yet he's still kicking around here in his mid-30s, trying to chase his dream, and I think that's just really inspiring as a fan of the CFL. So I'll give you guys a quick synopsis of his career. He started at the University of Concordia from 2006 to 2009, where at his height he was named the USports Defensive Player of the Year. This resulted in him being selected very highly in the CFL draft, 3rd overall in the first round by the Toronto Argonauts. However, he would be signed by the Kansas City Chiefs of the National Football League as an undrafted free agent. Though Greenwood mostly played in a special teams capacity south of the border, he was a member of that team's roster, which is an accomplishment in itself from a player like Greenwood that came from a Canadian university in Concordia, making his mark south of the border. However, his injuries would strike in his National Football League career, and ultimately, after a stop in Detroit from 2013 to 2014, his NFL journey would come to an end. In 2014, he would finally come to the CFL with the Toronto Argonauts, and while he struggled to break into the starting lineup for the Argos, he eventually would settle into a nice role within his second season in the league, and for a couple of years he had very good production as a linebacker in their system. After 2 productive seasons with the Argos, Greenwood would sign a contract with Edmonton in 2017, but again would face another adverse situation. This time, tearing his ACL before even playing a single snap for the team. And it looked like Greenwood's career was really just on the downturn after several years of injuries piling up. However, in 2018, he signed a deal with the Calgary Stampeders and looked good through about a handful of games there. But again, injuries would just strike and bring him down once again, forcing him to miss the remainder of the season. In 2019, he came back again with the Stampeders and was having a remarkable season. He was leading the league in tackles, I believe, through the first half of the season. He had 3 forced fumbles, had his first career CFL interception, and it looked like things were finally coming together for the mid-30-year-old. But the problem was, again, he would suffer another injury, which would wipe out the back half of the 2019 season, and as a result would cast a shadow over his future playing in the Canadian Football League. Remarkably, he actually was able to fight his way back to play in the playoff game that year, though he made little to no impact on the end result in Calgary's loss to Winnipeg in the semifinals. Had he not been injured that year, I think it's far-fetched to say that Greenwood could have competed to actually win the CFL's Most Outstanding Canadian award over eventual winner Henoch Muamba of the Montreal Alouettes in the 2019 season. Throughout 2020 free agency and the lead up to what was supposed to be the 2020 season, Greenwood remained unsigned, and even though there were reports of interest from the Calgary Stampeders about an imminent agreement between the two sides, no deal actually came to fruition. Finally, here in the 2021 offseason, Greenwood, who has had a long time to recover from his injuries, finally signs a new contract with the Stampeders, and I, for one, am excited that he is back in the Canadian Football League. I think he's just been through a lot, as I just stated. I think his career has had a lot of twists and turns, and I just don't think he's really truly reached his potential, whether that be in the NFL or the CFL, because he's just been held back by injuries. Who knows, he could have been playing in the NFL for 10 years as a special teams specialist if injuries had not became such a factor down there. And then when he gets the CFL, he's finally starting to prove himself as a really good Canadian linebacker, ratio-breaking linebacker, and he keeps on suffering these nagging injuries. Good for him. He's still trying to established himself as such a hyped player coming into the league. I think this is a great fit for Calgary, bringing him back, because Calgary just lost their offensive lineman Shane Bergman, and I'm unsure what their plans are to replace him. But having Greenwood and having the option to start a Canadian at linebacker and have the option to mix and match whether they want to replace Bergman with a American offensive lineman, if that's a better option for them. It gives them the flexibility in that regard. But another thing is that Calgary, a couple weeks ago, their linebacking situation looked very bleak. And they've really fixed that over this couple weeks. They bring back Jameer Thurman from the NFL. When he was last in the CFL, he was an all-star linebacker. And then Greenwood, when he was last on the CFL field, he was a star at linebacker as well. And so they plug these two guys into a depth chart that didn't really have any starting CFL experience outside of Jamar Wall, who's effectively, he plays that cover linebacker DB role. He's effectively a defensive back playing linebacker. But bring in these guys to plug the middle for Calgary, and I'm really excited for Cory Greenwood's revenge tour here in 2021. If he's fully recovered from all these injuries, is he finally going to be able to fulfill his potential as a great CFL linebacker? He has all the talent, and that's never been the question with Cory. It's just the bad luck with injuries. This guy has great closing speed. Even though he's a bit undersized, like he can meet a guy in the hole. I was watching some of his highlights last night from a game in 2019 versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think he had like 12 tackles, and he was just meeting a much thicker running back in Andrew Harris right in the hole, and it was quite a battle to see those two guys go at it on a play-to-play basis. And Greenwoods just has the talent to make an impact on a CFL field. He just needs to stay healthy, and I'm praying for him. I'm really cheering for him. We need more stud Canadian players at positions that aren't offensive line, because we already know Canadian offensive linemen can play in this league, and we see it time after time again as the most common position that Canadians play in the league. But we need more players, Canadian players, to play other positions in this league and stand out. And I'm really excited for Greenwood's opportunity here with the Stampeders. And I would just like to point out, as I say time and time again on this channel, the CFL is dominated by older players. You look at Charleston Hughes, you look at Almondo Sewell. Of course, I'm just naming defensive linemen right here. Willie Jefferson's getting up there a bit in age. But you got guys like that. Andrew Harris is an old running back. He'd be ancient in the NFL, but he's still the best running back in the CFL. And Greenwood at the age of 35, don't be surprised if he finally breaks out and has that first all-star caliber season over the course of a full season, if he can stay healthy here in 2021. But that's going to be the end of today's video. I'd like to thank you guys all for watching. Once again, my name is Jason. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is by hitting that like button and subscribing to Hussey's Huddle for more CFL content just like this. I want to thank you guys again for all the support lately, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.